Now guys, I don't know if you know this, but recently Valve decided to kill Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike died in the most recent update. You know why? Because Dust 2 came back into the map pool and Overpass left us. And that means that the game is now only playable if you're a noob who only walk forward and aim at head. Strategy is dead. There is no more tactical Counter-Strike. There is only aim maps. At least that's definitely some of the takes we've been seeing going around since the update was made. But whether or not we are in the Call of Duty meta or not, we have to live with the reality that Dust 2 is here, it's in Premiere, it's in competitive, so we have to know how to play it, we have to know how to approach it, and we can analyze whether Dust 2 is actually good for the meta or not. So today, we're going to talk about Dust 2 on its own merits, how it compares to Overpass, how it compares to the rest of the map pool, and whether the current map pool is healthy or not going forward. So if that sounds interesting to you guys, make sure you guys take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm. While you're down there, consider becoming a channel member to support me directly, and also consider following me on Twitch. I stream Sunday through Friday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come check me out. My name is LionHeartZ, and let's get started with the video. So here's the thing. We all know Dust 2. We all love Dust 2. We all hate Dust 2. But regardless, we all know it. It's maybe one of the 5 most relevant, popular, well-known maps in FPS history. And a lot of its appeal comes from its simplistic layout that incentivizes you to get into gunfights and engage your enemies very quickly. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's not complicated, there aren't that many smoke lamps that you need to know to get by, and therefore, a lot of people like to boot it up just so they can have an aim-heavy map. They don't want to have to focus on heavy utility, they just want to take the aim duels and see if they win or lose. But it is important to acknowledge that the version of Dust 2 we're currently playing on in CS2 is very different to the versions that have been in the competitive pool in the past in CSGO, namely the fact that we have open skyboxes. I don't think people are giving enough credit to how much that changes the way we can approach Dust 2 at all. Finally, the B site opens up T side utility. The ability to execute the B site effectively comes back into play and forces the CTs to be more wary about B side aggression. No longer is it the past versions of Dust 2 where pretty much everything's centered around A, Cat, and Mid. As players and teams get more acclimated to this new version of Dust 2, B is going to become more and more prevalent. The ability to hold it and execute on it will finally be a crucial part of how we approach the map. At the pro level, I'm really excited to see how teams approach playing the map because there's now so much more variety and options for fakes, lurks, team setups, the ability to expose more map control that the previous versions of Dust 2 simply didn't have. At the end of the day, it's still going to be an aim-heavy map. It's still going to be an op-heavy map. It's still going to rely on the team with the heavier mechanical skill to win, but now there are much more options when it comes to approaching each site, and I think that's huge for the overall appeal of the map as people learn to play it more and more. Now, that's not to say that the old problems of Dust 2 aren't still there. I still think it can definitely be a bit of a noob trap map, because without proper team flashing, whoever has the more dominant op player will almost always win the map. The op is so important to Dust 2, and if you can't flash your corners and take your peeks around team flashes, you are going to get decimated by whoever wields the big green more effectively. So a lot of people will boot up Dust 2, not know how to do that, or be stuck playing with solos, and then they'll constantly be running it down on CT or T side, run into whoever has that op in their hands, and then have not a great time. Before we talk about Dust 2 compared to Overpass, real quickly I just want to give one piece of advice. If you are struggling on your T sides, you are definitely not flashing enough. Make sure you flash every single corner before you peek. There is not a single corridor in Dust 2 that cannot be flashed over in some way that's beneficial to your push. Just make sure you communicate that to your teammates so you don't flash them as well. Alright, with that out of the way, let's talk about Overpass going away to make room for Dust 2. Firstly, let's talk about the implementation, as is what I had the biggest problem with. You see, the whole sell when CS2 came out and they debuted Premiere was that Premiere was supposed to be a seasonal ranked ladder, something that resets every X amount of months. And so far, Season 1 is going on nearly 8 months, which to me feels like too long. It feels like we should have already had a Season 2 or a reset at some point, and whenever you do that reset, that would be the optimal time to change the map pool. In an ideal world, we would have a rotating map pool every 6 to 8 months, where the premiere season would end, one map, ideally the least played map, would go out, and a new map would come in. So in this case, in this scenario, we would have gotten Season 2, Overpass goes out, Dust 2 comes in. But instead, we're in the middle of the season, we're in the middle of a bunch of pro tournaments, and instead we're going to fuck with the map pool now. That is what I have a problem with. Not necessarily the idea of Overpass out, Dust 2 in. It's when they chose to do it and the fact that everything is continuing on without some sort of reset afterwards. That aside, let's assess what's happened. Overpass is a great map. I want to get that out of the way. I have no beef with Overpass. I think it's a really great map, and it's been incredible at the pro level for a very long time. However, I do maintain that it is not a very approachable map. It's probably the hardest map to learn in the pool, and it's been that way for a long time. It's very punishing to T-sides that don't know utility, and as a result, it's often been the most CT-sided map at any given time, especially since Nuke has evened out in recent years. It's also a very large map, and sometimes I think it might be a little bit too big. Again, for the T side, it can be very hard to spread out and play for total map control. You oftentimes find yourself committing to one side or the other right away, with only the connector rotate up or down being kind of a last resort play. Overpass, unlike other maps, it's not often that you can say have someone explore towards A long and also go down towards B and then decide where you go based off picks. The rotates take so long and CTs own so much control of the sites that the risk reward of that kind of play is not very good compared to other maps. Just for the sake of comparison, think about Nuke T-sides. How often when you play Nuke do you have like one or two people go outside, one person go lobby and watch Squeaky Door, and another person go ramp and watch ramp? You've now covered pretty much all of the basic lanes at the start of the round, and your options from there are pretty much limitless. You can do whatever you want from that position. However, on Overpass, you're stretched so thin that that becomes a lot harder to do, and it's more often incentivized to go straight towards long A and bathrooms, or straight down towards B and into construction. You're not as incentivized to spread the map because it's so big. But all that being said, I'm very much of the opinion that Overpass was like very low on the list of maps I would have taken out. I think obviously most people would have said Vertigo or currently Inferno. For whatever reason though, Valve thought it was time to take Overpass off. So let's look at what we're losing with Overpass and gaining with Dust 2. Obviously Overpass is a big, slow, tactical map, and we're exchanging it for a smaller, aggressive, aim-heavier map. When we then look at the rest of the map pool, Nuke is a bigger, slower, tactical map. And then you have Anubis and Ancient, which are smaller, more aggressive. You have Mirage, which is bigger, but really not that tactical in depth, pretty much the same as Dust 2. And then you have Inferno, which is tactical, but has a lot of its own problems still. And then Vertigo, which a lot of people just don't seem to like, but is mainly an aim-heavy map. Though there are some creative setups to it, it's also very small and claustrophobic. So it's definitely fair to say that the majority of the map pool right now prioritizes simple executes and aim-heavy duels where the focus is around who can get better trades or hold their sights better. I think that's absolutely a fair statement. It's a more aggressive map pool than we've ever seen, and it's definitely the most simplistic map pool we've ever seen in the history of Counter-Strike. Now, is that a bad thing? I actually think no. Now, this is just my personal opinion, but I think Counter-Strike plays at its best when aggression is encouraged and incentivized. What we don't want is a meta that is stagnating, where teams focus on running down the clock till they've absolutely drained all the utility from either side, and then focus on one late site hit. Because that's what we had at the end of CSGO, and it's why the meta, especially at the pro level, really suffered. Games were so long, so drawn out, and honestly really boring because games got so optimized that it was never incentivized for you to make risky, aggressive plays. It was always better to try and bleed out utility, bleed out map control, get your intel, and wait as long as possible till, if you're a CT player, you force the Ts into a late bad push, or if you're the T side, you drain enough CT utility that you can move in the last 30 seconds and secure the bomb site. It was just a not fun product, and I really didn't enjoy that level of Counter-Strike. And I think a lot of CS2 is designed around making aggression better and more incentivized. The ability to blow open smokes, Molotovs doing more damage, nades doing more damage, smokes covering more of an area, but again with that downside of being able to be blown away. So I really think this map pool could be very good with just a few slight tweaks. What I would like to see is Inferno continue to get improvements and changes, specifically making the map a little bit bigger, and then drop Mirage because it's the oldest map left and the one most needing a rework, and then bring in something like Cache or Train. Train or Cache I think would be the great balancer to this current map pool that's definitely not an aim dually heavy map and offers up a lot of tactical expertise to players who want to explore it. I think at that point, that map pool would be pretty balanced. Again, there are people who do like Vertigo, and I acknowledge that Valve wants to make Vertigo work as much as I don't like it, so I don't think Vertigo is going anywhere. I think we have to live with it. Mirage or Inferno are the easiest two maps right now to get rid of and make the map pool better and more diverse, and I think Mirage should be the one to go. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty pro Dust 2 coming in. If nothing else, it's a shakeup. It gives the game some freshness. It forces us to reevaluate how we approach Premier, competitive, and the pro scene. And I think it's going to lead to some interesting outcomes in the long run. Hopefully in the future, we just get this with a Premier reset or a bigger update, so that it's not as sudden and jarring to deal with. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know how you guys feel about the map pool in the comments down below. Are you pro or anti-Dust 2? Were you an Overpass fan or an Overpass hater? What else would you do to the current map/map pool? I'll be down there responding all the time. And shout out to my channel members, Furley, Justin, and Jesse. Without you guys, the lights wouldn't be on. I appreciate you very much. If you want to become a channel member, check out the description down below. You can support me directly. While you're down there, consider following me on Twitch. I stream Sunday through Friday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come check me out. Other than that, I'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace.